This whole Star Wars Battlefront resurgence that's going on right now is beautiful for my eyes to witness as a longtime Star Wars Battlefront fan and member of the Battlefront community. It's pretty awesome seeing the amount of, why does it look like I'm in heaven right now? Like, the lighting is insane. Hold on. What? Well, I don't know what to do about that, so if you're blind now, I deeply apologize. Anyway, this whole Battlefront 2 situation, Battlefront 3 thing is just insane. I love to see it. I've been a part of this community forever. I actually built this channel based on playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the lead up to it, and I streamed it like every day for like 4 years. So trust me, I've been there. I understand how this community feels, all the stuff that it went through during the development cycle of Battlefront 2, and to see it getting all of this support and to see the amount of people who are begging for a Battlefront 3, it's really awesome to see. Now, this whole phenomenon really started a couple of weeks ago, for me at least, when I started to notice it. It was like I was scrolling on TikTok, and every single video, whether it had anything to do with Star Wars or not, whether it had anything to do with gaming, it didn't matter. It could be a video about anything. If you open the comments, one of the top comments would always be somebody saying in all caps, "We want Battlefront 3, spread the word." And it was like literally a parasite, a good parasite that I was seeing in the comment section of every single video on TikTok. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know who started it. I don't know who started the movement of going around and spreading the word, but it was working. I mean, it was all over the place. It was getting like the top comment, thousands of likes on every single one. And I was like, oh, that's cute. You know, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. And nothing's going to happen anyway. And then you get all these big time YouTubers who are posting videos on it now, who are returning to the game. Someone like FaZe Jev, who's always been one of my favorite YouTubers. I don't think he's ever made any Battlefront 2 content. Maybe he made a video one time when the beta came out all the way back in 2017, but I don't think he ever made any content on Battlefront 2, and he's made a bunch of videos about it, and they're getting like 1 million views per video. All these huge YouTubers are returning to the game and everything, so it's definitely a big-time resurgence. You're seeing reports of player count records being broken, 300,000 concurrent players across all platforms on the game. You're seeing former Battlefront 2 developers coming out of the woodwork. Dennis Brandval was like the lead creative director on the game. He was tweeting about it. Ben Walk was the community manager. He was tweeting about it. All these former devs were returning to it and tweeting about it. You even had like actors, like Star Wars actors, who like an actor who was in Andor was even posting on his Instagram story like, the fans need Battlefront 3. So the word of mouth is spreading. You have hundreds of thousands of people returning to Battlefront 2. You've got all these people who are, calling for the game to be made. Former developers, actors, everything. And what really stands out the most to me in this whole Battlefront 3 situation is the utter silence from EA. First of all, this shouldn't even need to happen. We shouldn't even need to be begging for Battlefront 3 because it already should have happened. The amount of players who were still playing to this day, even before this trend happened, there were still thousands of people playing this game every day. It's the only running Star Wars shooter where you can play all 3 eras, play as all your favorite heroes, play as all your favorite troopers, all the different maps, everything. It's the only one, unless you want to go back to the 2005 Battlefront 2, which even then it doesn't have all 3 eras. It just has the 2 eras that were around at the time. For some people, that is preferable because a lot of people hate the sequels. I'm not the biggest sequel fan myself, but I do think it's cool that there's a game where we can play in that era because the era is still fun to play in Battlefront, And it's crazy that this isn't already a thing. But the silence from EA right now, they need a PR win really badly. EA is probably the most hated game company on planet Earth. They have a long-standing history of taking advantage of their players, releasing crappy, lazy games that are just carbon copies of each other over and over and over again, specifically the sports games that they make. And those are starting to slip in sales. People are starting to get tired of their BS. People are starting to get tired of everything else that they're screwing up, which is a lot. Battlefield 2042, in my opinion, was horrible. I love Battlefield. I've always been a Battlefield fan. That's my least played Battlefield ever. I thought that game was awful. So they need a PR win. Nobody likes EA right now. You look at something similar that happened with Bethesda. Bethesda needed a PR win really, really badly. A lot of people were sick and tired of Bethesda's crap. They released the Oblivion remaster, and that was a huge PR win for them. They made a ton of money off of it. People aren't quite as mad at them anymore, myself included. Now, obviously, they still have to prove themselves with like Elder Scrolls 6 and stuff and all the stuff they do in the future, but it was a huge financial win for them and a huge PR win for them. And EA needs that so badly. And the amount of money you can make off Battlefront 3 is ridiculous. The PR you could get, the positive PR you could get from releasing a good Battlefront game is ridiculous. It's probably one of the most requested video games on the planet, if not the most requested and wanted video game right now that's not already in development. Obviously, not counting GTA 6 and everything. This is probably the game that the most people want right now. And the fact that they haven't said anything, like, dude, all you would have to do if you're EA is post like a black picture on Twitter with the 3 Roman numerals, like the 3 ones for Battlefront 3. All you'd have to do is post that, and people would freak out, and everyone would be so excited, and it would be a huge win for them. And personally, I think they're just scared. I mean, their reasoning for shooting down the idea of a Battlefront 3 a few years ago was because they didn't want to pay the licensing costs. For those of you who don't know, when you create a game that has a specific IP, so the Star Wars IP does not belong to EA, so when they make Star Wars games, they have to pay the licensing costs to use the Star Wars IP, and apparently those are pretty pricey. And if the game doesn't sell super, super, super well, it's not, extremely profitable for EA to make it. Now, I still think they made a ton of money off of Battlefront 2, even though they screwed up the launch of that game really, really badly with the loot boxes and the terrible progression system that was tied into microtransactions. We won't go into that whole ordeal. I mean, that was a catastrophic, worldwide phenomenon failure of everyone was just like, what were they thinking with this? And it honestly killed so much of the positive momentum that the game had going into its release. But I digress. All you would have to do is release a Battlefront 3 with all 3 eras. Even if the game starts off with less content on launch than Battlefront 2 had at the end, that's fine. Add free heroes every month, add free maps every now and then you could monetize the cosmetic side of things. You could do a battle pass. I'd pay for a battle pass where you pay $10 at the start of the season. The season lasts 2 months. You can go through, and as you level up and progress, you unlock new emotes, you unlock new character skins, you unlock new weapon camos. You could do that. You unlock new loading screens, kind of like what Fortnite does and what pretty much every other game with a battle pass does. Star Wars has so much to work with there that you could just have people earn through a battle pass. I would pay for it every season. Like, I would spend $10 on a battle pass every season. And then you could have like what Fortnite has with an item shop, where it's like, you give us some new cosmetics, like a battle damage Darth Vader skin or a, farm boy Luke skin, and you can spend real money on those skins if you want, because the cosmetic stuff has no effect on anything. Now, obviously, in the game itself, you'd have to make it to where you could earn stuff. You can earn like certain skins through completing challenges, maybe, something like hut contracts on the first 2015 Battlefront. The hut contracts where you would accept you'd pay a few credits, which was not real money. You would get the contract, you would complete a couple challenges, and then you would unlock a new gun, or you would unlock, I don't think they had skins at the time, but that's how it could work. Just so that people who don't have money can still get, free skins and stuff like that. But the money to be made is absolutely there. They could 100% make money off of cosmetics. You could dip into Legends and even stuff that's not canon. I mean, because who cares? It's a online multiplayer sandbox, shooter game. You could add all kinds of random skins. You could give Kylo a Darth Revan skin if you wanted to. Like, you could do all kinds of stuff. You could give Boba Fett a Jango Fett skin, and when you equip the Jango Fett skin, you get the 2 blasters, and maybe he plays a little bit differently. You could do all that. To me, this is the most easy, obvious win ever for EA. And obviously, we do not understand the business aspect of things as much as the CEOs do, because I think if it was as simple as what we act like it is, like, oh, wow, you'll make so much money if you do this, they would do it, because we know EA to be extremely greedy. We know EA to only care about money, to do whatever it takes to make as much money as possible and to rip off their customers. That's who EA is. Personally, I mean, I've seen a lot of people who are like, well, maybe EA doesn't do it. Maybe you just give it to another studio to do it. Personally, I thought DICE did a phenomenal job. DICE was the actual developers that were owned by EA. EA made the stupid decisions like the loot boxes and everything. That was EA's doing. But the core game itself, made by DICE, it was gorgeous in the Frostbite engine. I loved how it looked. It played well. It had some bugs and stuff, but it was still really fun. And if you released a Battlefront 3 with just improved hero mechanics, improved, gunplay and things like that, it would be amazing, man. Really, all you would have to do, even on launch, is just, you only need a couple of game modes. In fact, I think the more game modes you have, the more the player base gets split up and it's harder to find games and stuff. So just give us a conquest mode. Like, picture this. You have a conquest mode that allows you to seamlessly transition from the ground combat to the sky combat. And you can do it in phases if you want to, kind of like what they did in Battlefront 2 with Conquest and the capital ships, except you couldn't fly around in space. That's what a lot of people just really, really want. But the initial phase, you're down on the ground capturing command posts. You can play as heroes. You can play as reinforcements. You can play as a trooper. You can do all this. And then that phase ends. You go into the sky. Maybe everyone starts off in a starfighter, but you can land on a capital ship if you want. And you can go in and try to destroy stuff inside the capital ship. But then you would also have people who decide to stay out in space and fly their ships around. And maybe you shoot down, turrets that are on the capital ships, and you blow up the command bridge, and you blow up all the communications towers and stuff, kind of like what you did in Battlefront 2 back in 2005. And you could have it to where you could transition from being in your ship, and then you just go into the hangar, land, get out, go shoot, stuff like that, dude. It would be incredible. People would eat that up. That could be the main mode, and then you could have like a hero shooter type mode, like heroes versus villains, except hopefully better, because the hero combat's not very good in Battlefront 2, especially the lightsaber combat. But I mean, you could do something like what Marvel Rivals is doing, where you just have a hero shooter mode, and it's relatively tactical, but it's also, all the heroes are fun to play with unique abilities, so it could be kind of like heroes versus villains from Battlefront 2, except a little bit more advanced and a little bit more refined. And you would really only need those two modes. If you wanted to do like a team deathmatch mode where you can't use heroes and it's just troopers on a small scale map, you can use reinforcements and stuff, then that's fine for like a third one if you want to. But, I mean, personally, I don't even need a campaign. I know a lot of people want a campaign. I don't really think you need a single-player experience in a game like this, because you have games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor and whatever the next game in that series is going to be. You have games like Star Wars Outlaws, which I know isn't very good, but, you have single-player experiences you can go play if you want that. I don't think Battlefront necessarily needs a single-player experience. You focus solely on the multiplayer aspect of the game, and you can make a phenomenal game that everyone loves, and you can make a ton of money off of it as well, as long as the microtransactions aren't predatory. It's really that simple. So again, I think the most glaring issue with this whole situation is that everyone, millions of people, are begging for this game. Actors in the Star Wars franchise are asking for this game. Former developers of Battlefront 2 are saying that they would come back if they made a Battlefront 3. And EA is radio silent. They are not saying anything while all this hype is going on. This hype will not last forever. This hype is probably already starting to die down a little bit because of the silence from EA. Like, oh, we're doing all this, and they're not even saying anything about it. They're not doing anything. They could literally just leak something that they're talking about it. Like, these gaming companies leak stuff all the time. You could have one of these gaming insiders come out and say, EA, according to my sources, EA is talking about potentially booting back up the Battlefront franchise. Even that alone would be enough to sustain the interest from a lot of people. But all these people are going to come back to Battlefront 2, they're going to play it for a while, they're going to keep begging, and then eventually, with more silence, they're just going to stop. It's going to be like, okay, and it's going to go back to how it was before. You have to take advantage of this wave right now of people who are freaking out and begging for this game. This movement that these fans have started deserves some sort of acknowledgement from EA. And I know EA is a terrible, terrible company who does not care about their fans. They only care about money. And if they think that this is some big risk because of the fact that they screwed up the Battlefront franchise in the past, It's their fault that Battlefront 2 was no longer able to make them money. It was their fault. They had to take the microtransactions out of the game because of how predatory and how awful they were. They knew that they could not add microtransactions back into Battlefront 2 after what happened at launch. So then they weren't making any more money off it. That's why they pulled the plug on the content. But that's their fault. If you just don't fuck up the launch of the game, excuse my French, if you don't screw up the launch of the game, you will have a gold mine. You will make so much money. You could charge full price because we all know they're not going to do a free-to-play game. They're not going to do what Marvel Rivals did. They're not going to do what Fortnite does. They're just not. They're just not. There's too many people who want this game, so they will charge full price for this game. That's fine. Whatever. That is what it is. So not only will they make, there are going to be, I could estimate, and this is probably even low, I could estimate 10 million copies sold in the first couple weeks of this game being released. So 10 million times whatever the price of a full price game is now. I think it's like $80 now. That's a ridiculous amount of money. You're making almost $1 billion right off rip with this game. It's immediately profitable for EA to do that. Again, I don't know what the licensing costs and all that is. It's immediately profitable for them just off the base sales of this game. Then you decide to put a battle pass in the game. That's a ton of revenue. You put an item shop in the game, allow people to purchase skins with real money, and you just continuously update that while you're adding free maps, free heroes, free weapons, hut contracts, whatever you want to do, however you want to do the dispersal of content in the game. Give us seasons where with each new season we get a new map, new heroes, whatever. The amount of money you would make just off of that alone is indescribable. Like, this is free money. This is literally free money for them, and it's a ton of money for them because of how many people want this game. So I think it's ridiculous this hasn't happened yet. All of the issues with the Battlefront franchise, they're over here like they're too scared to make this game because of the licensing costs and because of the bad PR they got from Battlefront 2. And it's like, that was y'all's fault. It's not that people didn't like the game. People liked the game. As you can tell by the hundreds of thousands of people who are returning to the game to this day, almost 10 years after the game came out. There are still so many people who love this game. It wasn't the game that was the problem. This is arguably, if you take nostalgia for the 2005 Battlefront 2 out of the picture, this is probably the best Star Wars shooter game of all time in terms of just sheer content. There's nowhere else that you can get this type of experience in the Star Wars universe where you can live out that big battle fantasy that people have, and the whole reason why people want this game. So it wasn't the game that was the problem with Battlefront 2. It was EA screwing it up. And I will give them credit. They allowed DICE to continue to work on it, to fix all the problems, to continue adding a ton of free content to the game for a couple of years after the game came out, after the catastrophic launch. They allowed them to continue to make this game and to support this game and to get it into a good spot. So I'll give EA credit for that, I guess. It shouldn't have had to happen, but I'll give them credit for that, I guess. So, but all that work they did to fix Battlefront 2 and to get it into a place where the fans were happy with it, that will only pay off if you make a Battlefront 3. That will only be financially worth it for you if you make a Battlefront 3. Because now the taste in people's mouth is not that bad. If they had just abandoned Battlefront 2 after the horrible launch and they didn't do any post-launch content, nobody would be begging for a third game. The reason why people want a third game so bad is because Battlefront 2 is awesome. It's got its problems. It's not perfect, but it's a great game. It's a fun Star Wars shooter game. All you have to do is take that goodwill that you earned by rebuilding the game for years after it came out, and you release a Battlefront 3. You don't even have to show us anything right now. Just confirm that it's being worked on, and fans will be so excited about it. That's what happened with the Oblivion remaster that I mentioned earlier from Bethesda. All they did, they literally were just leaking little things to these leakers, and it was just a whisper for a while. Oh, an Oblivion remaster is coming eventually. It's coming. Oh, it's going to come on this day, this exact day, or around this exact time in this certain month. And people were like, is this true? And they were getting excited at the idea of it. And then you had other people who were like, there's no way. This isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't going to happen. And then one day, after all these leaks and all these rumors, one day, Bethesda came out. They showed a trailer for the game. They released the game immediately. Literally a shadow drop. I'm not saying they need to do that with Battlefront 3. But the reason why the hype built up so much is because it was just a rumor. It was like, oh, might be happening. People were really excited about the idea of it happening. So now while the hype for Battlefront 2 is this high, it is through the roof. Battlefront 2 and people begging for Battlefront 3. It is through the roof. You have to say something. You have to do something with this. EA hasn't had this free PR in forever. This is a free PR win for EA. All eyes are on them, and they're sitting there with their hands in their pockets doing nothing. Wake up. Do something. Confirm that you're working on Battlefront 3 while the hype is this high. I promise you it will go over well for you. In a few months when you're ready to show something, show something. Bring Dennis Bramval, the old creative director from Battlefront 2. Bring him back. Have him do a little thing on Twitter where he's like, and on YouTube where he's like, you know, talking to the fans, and it's going to get people hyped, dude. I promise you. Free money, free PR. It is the easiest win you could possibly ask for. It makes no logical sense why this isn't happening. What are they doing? EA, do it. Okay. I guess I've said all I need to say about this. This needs to happen. It makes way too much sense for it not to happen. Just do it. Just do it, please. Anyway, I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated that all this hype is happening around this right now. And people are so excited at the idea of this maybe being a thing. And people are literally just trying to will it into existence. Please. Like, please. They're just begging. People are begging for this. Millions of people are begging for this. And EA is just silent. Why? Do what you do best. Chase the money. Be greedy. I'm giving you permission. Be greedy. Make Battlefront 3. You will make so much money off of it. Anyway, I'm repeating myself consistently now, so that's how I know it's probably time to end it. My yap sessions could go on forever. I could literally sit here and talk about this for 3 hours if I wanted to. But yeah, please, EA, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Just do it. Just do it. So, anyway, if you guys like the video, leave a like. If you want more content, subscribe. I've been doing a lot of Bethesda content lately, but it's kind of slow on that front after Oblivion came out. So I'll probably pivot back to some Battlefront 3 stuff, Battlefront 2 stuff. And if they ever confirm that this game's coming out, I'm going to go crazy with the content, bro. I will be making speculation videos. I'll be doing the whole 9 yards, similar to what I did with the leading up to the Oblivion remaster. I guess I'm just going to follow whatever I feel like is popping at the time, because I just don't really have anything else to talk about. But anyway, just keep asking, keep playing Battlefront 2, keep running the player numbers up. Be in the comment section of anything Disney related, anything Star Wars related, anything EA related. Just be in the comment section begging for it. Maybe one day they will wake up. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. And yeah, bye.